even though I don't watch movies very much anymore. And I try to protect myself from it. There are movies I wish I'd never seen. As bad as unforgettable tragedies in some ways. Because they poach the mind with irregular ideas. One of them was called It, and a dude Zell who worked with the Gurdjieff clock, setting up the woman with the needles and the tattoo of the Grim Reaper. You know, the what they called a hazing experience park on Mount Desert Island, which I have protested was premeditated, which they're virtually coming out of the bag about, like, so what? Yeah, F you, so what? He sent me a postcard of Greta Garbo that, strangely enough, had a I cut out of it. After it arrived, maybe someone in my house did that. And the last line was, It tried. There's this movie called It made me think of. I think it was meant to make me think of it, in which the Post Gazette, Post Gazette Ku Klux Klan figure, the white supremacist, and the Panthers and the Green Party, the barbecuers, call a food fight. There's a scene that shows what they mean. He comes up to the woman who's hostage in a room and puts out a dish, and when she opens the lid of the dish, there's a rat. See, and they poison me in the mouth. This is Hollywood, you know. Even that line that they can't carbon out extruded about tie up and porter with the carrot. Carrot is like a carat ring, you know, like carat diamond. And pork is in kosher. See, so it's all the swastika maidenhood stuff. Penis Gordon, magna cum laude. He goes, um, the reason why the Russian Revolution worked is on account that, and this dude went to Harvard. I mean, he has a spinner beanie that keeps up with Cornell. It's because the Tsarina's son was consumptive, and that brought out the contempt of the public. So when the Pittsburgh Steelers uses their decal, or someone uses the Pittsburgh Steelers decal, talk about, oh, poor little Jimmy. You know what they're implying. They're doing like this. The Tsarina's son. So what they did, the foreign aggressor, was they decapitated the Kennedy family. And then they went for a symbol of liberalism to humiliate in the dark, behind the scenes, behind the curtains. And said, watch us how he empathizes with the victims, but he won't die with them. He empathizes so much that he will be subjected to the theft and degradations of the X motive, and then subsumed into a law destruction dominated by its adversary. That's what they wrote. And what they have is a situation now where, having murdered Searcy and a couple other Kennedys, Bobby Kennedy jumped into the ring, and he's doing like he's like the man in the horizontal vertical line rooms of a Twilight Zone idea, you know, duking it out with their favorite spasms. and barely getting anywhere. Because, for one thing, he's not going to spin against the Spin magazine crowd. He's not going to try to twirl the spinner beanie backwards. He's not going to say, what were they doing wriggling the parochial fork nostril? What were they doing subjecting poor Bad and Jimmy to successive degradations of the X motive and setting up an ultimatum exam of die with the victims in pornographic genocide on Mount Desert Island, the Peter Gabriel and Ming Na Wen called Leslie's Experience Park? He's not going to do it. So I've no one to blame but myself if I fail to advise people that he's up against enough without taking something like that on. And believe me, I pity you, okay? I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. Trying to talk sense to the bumper sticker heads. I mean, I'm cheering you, though. I mean, it's nice and everything. I'd like you to keep me out of it. And that sounds like false hope. Because they had no right to do this to a Pittsburgh public school student. What this amounts to is Joe Biden's revenge of the draft board. Remember the story that went around? I remember the story that went around. Krokag Registerkroner has a legendary claim on the authenticity certificate of the queer bait. See, Postal Office Services, who aided and abetted the murder of the Kennedys recently, will not really likely prosecute somebody who benignly neglects to register for the draft, so they say. What happens is when you make a public statement, then they swoop because you've intimidated them open that you violated. Well, Joe Biden was like, the queer bait is not that unusual in Pittsburgh. People sleep around. The girls were being hired, for pity's sake, to reject him after all and then pass him on to somebody else. They were two-timing themselves and saying, you do not trust me, singing the blue cloak of the deceived husband for Michael Reagan to watch the tea kettle go off, as they called the neuroplasm. As long as he doesn't say anything. But when I came forward with Greg Carl's stuff about the persona being subjected to the theft of degradations of the X motive and showed that Obama was a beneficiary of Jefferson and Alan Parsons' Two Virgins Pussy Ball, Clark to the AIDS attack by Salk labor. Then the Postal Service swooped down, dumped down whole people. He wants to huggy and get autographs from Camille Valiva while he cries and loves slavery to Greta Thunberg. He's a two-timer. We must send him to Iran to face the penalty of the masses. Kowtow to the Krokag Register. Kowtow to the UN. Kowtow to the Petit Excellency. And this is Joe Biden's finest hour, apparently. Championing Hitler Reagan. Neat, man. Oh, that's neat, just neat. Wow, man, yeah, that's neat, just neat. Wow, man, yeah, that's neat. Wow, man, yeah, neat, just neat. Wow, man, yeah, that's neat.